everybody. How goes it? I'm Skip Alzheimer, and I'm looking weird. Hold on. Let me reposition things so I don't look like... Anyways, I'm Skip Alzheimer of AV Geeks. Thanks for joining me this evening. I'm tired because of daylight savings time. Thank you. We're watching films about motorcycles, 16mm films about motorcycles. Behind me, you can see a telecine, a German-made telecine. We just watched a Keystone Cop Max Sennett silent film with an added soundtrack. So it was great for some slapstick. I'm going to rewind and turn, hopefully I'll remember to turn off the volume. Yes, I did. All right. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Already a problem. Thanks for joining me. As I said, I'm Skip Alzheimer, and I have a lot of 16mm educational films, and so every month I try to pull some out. A couple of hours worth of ones that I've seen before, some I haven't seen before, loosely based around some sort of theme. Tonight's theme, it says Vroom, Vroom. It's actually films about motorcycles, scooters, and mopeds. Actually, I have quite a few. I was kind of interested. A lot of safety films, so we're going to try to mix it up a little bit, but we're going to get some safety films. Because, you know, there was driver safety films, and so certainly there should be ones for other motorized vehicles. Full disclosure, I rode a mini bike when I was a kid, maybe 5th grade, and I hit a tree. I wasn't hurt. The mini bike wasn't hurt, but it was very embarrassing, and I have never never ridden on a motorcycle. My father did, and I rode on his back like as a kid, but never had the desire to own a motorcycle because of that 5th grade experience. So this is interesting to me, but only because it's just interesting to me. It's not something I know much about at all. I have lots of friends who have motorcycles, and hopefully some of them are watching. If you are a motorcycle enthusiast, please feel free to chime in. Any of you, actually, if you're 16mm enthusiast, chime in. Give us some comments. Let me know you're out there. So the first thing I want to put on here, of course, is a advertisement. That last film actually had some motorcycle sidecar action in it, which kind of technically worked for my theme. I don't know. Don't be too strict. But this one is, like it has the, collectors know this, the heart reel. We love the heart reel. So this is a couple of TV commercials for a particular product that is related to the theme tonight. So as you can see, I am literally threading up the telecine in front of you, in front of your very eyes. It's like a cooking show, but it's with film. And any of you people out there who have access to telecines or scanners, and do a live show. It's an interesting way to kind of think about what you're doing. Lots of technical problems, of course, but it's what makes it interesting and fun. So here is Honda scooter commercials. Enjoy.
Some don't believe in growing old. They own a Honda. Optional push-button starting. 3-speed transmission, automatic clutch, and a 4-stroke 50cc engine give get-up-and-go action with 225 miles to a gallon of gas. Dual cam-type brakes on both wheels mean real braking safety. A Honda's for the young at heart. Honda, world's biggest seller. What's greater than the great outdoors? The great outdoors plus a Honda. A Honda gets you where you want to go. The 4-stroke 55 cubic centimeter overhead valve engine gives zip and power. Yet at 45 miles per hour, it's like riding on silk. A Honda doesn't gulp gas, just sips it. 225 miles to a gallon. Honda, world's biggest seller.
Honda! 4-speed shift, synchro mesh 2. 2 cam brakes mean safety for you. Honda! On another motor's there, doing 55 miles per gallon, 135. Honda! Cost little to buy, almost nothing to run. These are the wheels made for your fun. Honda!
Honda, world's biggest seller.
Wow!
Hold it. Why not draw straws to see who gets the car tonight? But you know, for about the cost of one good used second car, you could get 2 brand new Hondas with 3-speed transmission, automatic clutch, and dual cam-type brakes. And a Honda gets up to 225 miles to a gallon of gas. Honda, world's biggest seller. Take 2 wheels, add a 50 cubic centimeter 4-stroke motor, enclosed drive chain, cam-type brakes, 3-speed transmission, automatic clutch, and top with the name Honda. Yield all the power you need. At 45 miles per hour, it's like riding on silk. Up to 225 miles to a gallon of gas. Honda, world's biggest seller.
It doesn't take a course in economics to figure out. A Honda makes good sense. Price, insurance, upkeep, all lower than you'd imagine. And 15 Honda models to choose from, and no service headaches. Your Honda dealer can handle any problem quickly and easily. Another thing, with a Honda, you can ride right up. Parks anywhere. And it's so easy on the budget, too. No wonder you meet the nicest people on a Honda. World's biggest seller.
People who own a Honda know how to enjoy life. Honda, world's biggest seller.
Honda, the ultimate in technical perfection. In the air, on the ground, these men value performance, quick response, plenty of power, plus low fuel consumption. And above all, they like their reliability. Hondas hold up. Sleek as a jet. You can ride them anywhere. You meet the nicest people on a Honda. Honda, world's biggest seller. When there's a job to be done, the Honda Trail 90 meets the challenge. Whether it's on the ranch or on the farm, you'll find the Honda Trail 90 a big help. Takes you over all kinds of terrain. It's the ideal bike for hunters and fishermen, too. No wonder the Honda has become the most popular trail machine in the country. Honda, world's biggest seller. Okay, let's go. She knows there's only one way to make decisions like this. Go to your Honda dealer. He's got the answers. 15 different Honda models. 50, 200 miles to the gallon. And if you want to trade in for one of the big ones, 305cc. Of course, there's the matter of getting Dad to agree. But it doesn't take long once you ride a Honda. And you must admit, you meet the nicest people on a Honda. World's biggest seller.
Whoopsie. Here I am. Yeah, great commercials. Those are actually, I got from a batch of commercials in Memphis, Tennessee, and these were meant to be shown in theaters. So they were probably shown in television as as well, but this came from a company that did advertising in theaters. So I have a lot of stuff for different types of cars and local businesses and things like that. I've shown some stuff in the past. It's pretty great stuff. Some of it is super vinegary. The film is broken down, the acetate, so they cannot be really shown. But I might try to, I don't know, replasticize them and see if we can run them through a scanner or something. But yeah, you meet the nicest people on a Honda. I think that's what my dad had. I think my dad had a Honda. And I remember being a little kid riding on the back, and we had these windbreakers, and they were, because the Honda was spitting oil out of the exhaust, we all had oil-stained splatters on the back of our jackets. That's what I remember most about my father's motorcycle. Ruining my favorite windbreaker, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know, when I retire, maybe I'll get one of those big trikes, because those things look like they're super easy to ride, and they're all over the place. I have no shame in riding one of those things. This next film is made by Kawasaki, or made for Kawasaki, on the basics of how to ride a motorcycle. So, it's obviously in motorcycle industry's best interest to make instructional materials on how to actually ride their equipment. Because if you have too many people dying, then, that type of thing gets legislated out. Kind of like ATVs, four-wheelers. So this film is one of these. It's an introductory film about how to ride a motorcycle. So enjoy. I think this I have 3 in this series, and I can't remember which one this is. I think it's episode 2B. So enjoy.
This is Unit 2, Knowing Your Motorcycle. Part 1, Locating and Operating Controls. You don't have much time to make decisions in a situation like this, so you have to know where every control is located and be able to operate each control without looking. In an emergency, you don't have enough time to find the control and operate it. Your reactions have to become automatic. And that's what this unit is all about. You'll learn to locate and operate all of the important controls, locate and learn the function of all important motorcycle parts, and perform a pre-ride inspection to make sure everything's in safe operating condition. You've got to be able to do these things before you even start the engine. Motorcycles are not like automobiles. The location of the steering wheel, accelerator, brake, and clutch are the same for all cars. But motorcycles are not standardized. Different brands of motorcycles may have some controls in different locations. Also, motorcycles have some controls which aren't on many modern cars. We'll be talking about this motorcycle throughout the film. But you can check the owner's manual if your motorcycle is different. The main controls are located in 2 places. Hand-operated controls are on the handlebars. Controls operated by the feet are located on the left and on the right side of the motorcycle, just below the engine. The ignition switch on most motorcycles is located in front of the handlebar or just under the fuel tank. A key operates the ignition switch. All ignition switches have an off position. Switch on when you're going to start your motorcycle. Some motorcycles also have a third position which turns on the headlight and tail light. Others have the headlight tail light control on the handlebar. Check your owner's manual for the exact location. The headlight dimmer switch is also on the handlebar, marked H for high beam
and L for low beam. On most motorcycles, an indicator lights up when the high beam is on. Off for low beam. Leaving the headlight on, even during the day, is extremely important. It makes you much more visible to other drivers. The turn signal switch is also located on the handlebar. Push the signal to the left for left turns, or to the right to signal a right turn. The indicator light shows you the signal is flashing. Unlike cars, this switch on a motorcycle doesn't shut off automatically. Don't forget to turn the signal off yourself. Leaving signals on after you've turned confuses drivers near you. Your horn warns others that you're there. The fastest way to stop the engine in an emergency is to hit the kill switch. When you operate the kill switch, the engine stops instantly. Every motorcycle has the throttle on the right handlebar. It does the same thing as the gas pedal in a car. Turn the throttle toward you to increase engine speed. Away from you to slow the engine down. Toward you to increase speed. Away to slow down. When you let go, it returns to idle by itself. The front brake lever is located on the right handlebar on most motorcycles. You won't be using it until you've mastered basic riding and stopping skills. The choke is located on the left handlebar or under the seat. Using it helps start a cold engine, but turn it off after the engine's started. The clutch lever is located on the left handlebar on most motorcycles. Squeeze the clutch lever to operate it. This disengages the rear wheel from the engine. When the motorcycle's in gear, releasing the clutch sends power through the transmission to the back wheel, and you go. The gear shift lever is located here, on the left, for most motorcycles. You change gears with your toe, releasing the lever each time between gears. Lift up for a higher gear. Press down for a lower gear. When the motorcycle is shifted to neutral, a green light indicates this on the instrument cluster. Some motorcycles have different shifting patterns, so check your rider's handbook. On most motorcycles, the rear wheel brake lever is on the right side. Press to brake. Let up to release the brake. Most motorcycles have kick starters. A good hard push gets the engine going. Many larger motorcycles have electric starters to make starting easier. This small lever, the fuel control valve, is very important. You set it to the off position when parked, to the on position when you're going to start up. When you're low on fuel, the reserve position gives you enough to make it to a gas station. Your speedometer tells you how fast you're going. When you're driving, glance quickly down at the speedometer, then eyes back to the road. If your motorcycle has a tachometer, it'll show the engine's revolutions per minute. Don't let the tachometer needles stay in the red area. This will cause engine damage. Now a quick review. This rider is riding correctly. He's got his eyes where? On the handlebars, on the road ahead, or on the front wheel? His eyes are on the road ahead. He's too busy to look at the handlebars, front wheel, or anywhere else. When the rider shifted gears, he operated the clutch, shift lever, and throttle. Did he use touch alone, touch and sight, or just sight? He used touch alone. Watching the road ahead, you won't have time to stare at your motorcycle's controls. Control levers are located on the handlebars, on the left and right side of the engine, or all three locations. Control levers are on all three locations: the handlebars, the right side, and the left side. Quickly now, name these controls. Rear wheel brake lever, throttle, choke, gear shift lever, ignition switch, kick starter, dimmer switch. This completes part 1 of Unit 2.
Part 1, Unit 2. I get it now. So, yeah, the nuts and bolts of it all. But, you know, I guess it's very motorcycle-centric. I don't know how much variation there are in the instrumentation, but Kawasaki is definitely represented here. I like films like this because they are so niche, and you know, you could say that they're dry or not interesting, but they're methodical, and they're, you know, it's shots, disembodied shots of hands on handlebars pressing a button, or, you know, adjusting some little thing, hitting a lever, putting on the brakes, foot on the clutch. All that stuff it's very I don't know, fetishizing. I don't know. We'll see. I bet you that there are definitely someone who fetishizes about motorcycle boots starting motorcycles. I guarantee you there's something out there in the world. Don't send me links to it because I don't want to see it, but it just seems like there's a lot of fetishism associated with motorcycle, and, you know, the leather jacket, the boots, all that stuff. Don't ask me, ask Kenneth Anger. And the biker from the Village People. Okay, this next film is an earlier film. I don't have a year on it. It might pop up. I want to say it's early 60s, late 50s. But, yeah, this is some more safety stuff. It's called Two Wheel Wisdom. And where did I get this? I'm not sure where I got this. I think I probably got it on eBay. I think it said Kodachrome, which is a beautiful color stock. Very much unlike what you just saw, which was a very pink Eastman color, where the dyes have faded and all that's left is red. Kodachrome is a more expensive film stock that is, the colors are vivid. The Honda scooter was an example. Commercial was an example of that. So here is Two Wheel Wisdom.
This is the story of how safety on two-wheeled vehicles can add to the fun and pleasure of the open road. It is essentially the story of how a motorcycle or scooter can be properly handled to keep the rider safe and the general public a friend of the cyclist. In addition to their use as pleasure vehicles, motorcycles also play a vital part in our metropolitan traffic picture. Expressways, such as are found in many of America's largest cities, must be patrolled round the clock to ensure orderly traffic and smooth flow of millions of automobiles. In such an assignment, the motorcycle-mounted officer plays an important law enforcement role. These are proud members of a conduct, a machine that has great power and affords great maneuverability. They are proud to be motorcycle-mounted minions of the law. The AMA's motto, "Put your best wheel forward," is not just an idle slogan. A combination of courteous and responsible riding and adult behavior will add to the fine image the majority of cyclists create. The AMA also places a great deal of stress on safety activities, as indicated by this banner, awarded to clubs which have outstanding annual safety records. A safety check of your motorcycle is essential. The front wheel handbrake could be located on either the right or left handlebar for easy access and complete control. And of course, the rear wheel brake is controlled by your foot pedal. Checking for proper tire pressure is as essential on a two-wheeler as it is on an automobile. Footrests are for riding comfort and convenience. And your starter gets you underway. A foot shift makes it easy to change gears. Also important is checking chain conditions, including tension. A vital safety feature is the tail and stop light, which must always be in good operating order to protect you and the riders behind you. It's wise to check the tire treads for wear and to get rid of pebbles and other objects you might have picked up. And more than vanity, demands that you have a rear view mirror which gives you a glimpse of what's behind you at all times to assure safety on the highway. Now that you know your motorcycle's operating features, you'll get dressed for the ride. All cyclists know the leather jacket is a practical garment providing warmth and protection as well as comfort. And remember, a safety helmet is to a cyclist what a safety belt is to a motorist. As the Best Wheel Forward poster says, dress neatly, ride carefully. Dressing neatly will make a distinctly good impression on your neighbors, your riding companions, and the public. Now that you're ready, let's take a typical situation on the road. On your approach to a stop sign, remember that since the front brake is more effective, apply the rear brake first. Then ease down on the front one. When you come to a stop sign, signal clearly and take an extra second to stop, look, and listen before you proceed. Remember, a motorcycle has many advantages over other vehicles. For one thing, visibility is virtually unlimited. If a blind spot exists, it's usually the driver's, not the vehicle's. Then, too, motorcycles are easy to handle in the proper hands, and controls are simple, sure, will certainly wait a few extra minutes. Let's take another traffic situation. You're traveling along behind an automobile, that fellow enclosed in his car who can't fully enjoy the great outdoors. How do you go about passing the car safely and in such a way as not to antagonize the driver? There's a phrase, if you don't see it, don't try it. This includes passing on hills and curves. No one should ever chance a blind passing situation. Keeping a safe distance is another basic rule, whether in a car or on a cycle. These charts will give you an idea of the care that must be taken in keeping your distance. For instance, at 20 miles per hour, it takes a total of 40 feet to stop. half of that distance being reaction or thinking time. At 30 miles an hour, a total stopping distance of 75 feet is required. 30 of those feet, your thinking time. If you are traveling at 40 miles an hour, you would need 120 feet to stop safely, 40 feet of which is your thinking time. And at a speed of 50 miles an hour, it takes 175 feet to stop safely, which includes 50 feet of thinking time. Remember these rules, and you'll have a safe and law-abiding time on the road. By the same token, making a left-hand turn means entering to the left lane well in advance of the turn with a clear signal which gives the vehicle behind you a chance to slow down and allow you to make the turn. Or let's take an example of a motorcyclist who is sweeping a curve. Here's one way that a professional cyclist takes a curve, but it is not recommended for highway riding because he's doing it on a racetrack. Now let's move to a highway rider taking a curve. The difference is obvious. The professional racer is equipped to ride faster in a race than when he's on the highway. And you'll find that the racing motorcyclist is one of the highway's most sensible riders. He knows, for example, that you must automatically reduce speed on wet roads or loose gravel and cross streetcar and railroad tracks at as wide an angle as possible. Yes, motorcycling is a sport unto itself, a thrill that must be personally experienced to be fully appreciated. When handled properly, the motorcycle is a vehicle that will bring untold pleasure to young and old alike. The fellowship that is evidenced in groups of cyclists out for a pleasure jaunt is unparalleled in any other sport. The wholesome fun that cyclists share in their hobby of two-wheeled participation is a thrill that cannot be matched by any other mode of transportation. The excitement of the open road that is present in taking command of a motorcycle, but more significant, is the fact that each cyclist, as the AMA has pointed out, must always be aware that keeping his best wheel forward is the important thing. Each of this country's two-wheeled riders, and there are more than 500,000 in the United States, has a responsibility not only to himself, but to other cyclists and motorists, as well as the very important segment of the public which accepts the sport on the basis of what it has seen of two-wheeled activity. The image of the motorcyclist is one that each individual creates, dressing neatly, conforming to all traffic laws at all times, conducting oneself as a responsible citizen, aware of other people's rights. These are the goals that all cyclists should set for themselves. And these are the goals that the AMA has set for its riders in almost 50 years of promotion of motorcycling as the greatest sport on wheels. We'd like to repeat the words of J. Edgar Hoover. The care you exercise in handling your motorcycle will add to the safety of our streets and highways. It will also increase the pride and pleasure you take in an activity which in many instances is their vehicles in the way they were designed, for wholesome fun, pleasure, and economical transportation. Yes, two-wheeled pleasure is something all can enjoy. From the youngster trying out his wheels on a bicycle, to the teenager enjoying his first scooter, from the lad on a lightweight motorcycle, to the experienced rider who uses his machine to explore the beauties of this great land of ours. From the professional racer seeking fame and glory on the track, to the guardians of the law whose motorcycle is a symbol of authority, to most fully enjoy the greatest sport on wheels.
That's beautiful too. That's Kodachrome, as I was talking about before, so the colors are vivid. I'm not really sure when that film was made. Maybe somebody can chime in with a take on it. I would say 60s, but I don't know. I didn't really take a close look at the cars to know one way or the other. Beautiful footage. And I think that was an eBay purchase, so I don't really get any other information about it beyond... Oops. Uh-oh. Bad splice. Bad splice. Bad splice. Alright, so we just had a splice break, so I have to get a splicer real quick. Hold on. Yeah, this was just taped together. This was not great. Do I have a splicer here? I don't. So I'm going to have to be a little creative. You didn't see me do this, archivists, but it had to be done because the show has to go on. Maybe I'll do a whole show about film splicing, and you guys will be super excited about it. Alright. This is what happens when you do a live screening, you know. There's no hiding behind in a projection booth somewhere. This is the real deal. You can see all the mistakes, etc. I mean, hopefully we won't have an example of what happened when the last watch-a-thon that we did, the 24-hour watch-a-thon, where film just sprayed like confetti and just was spraying everywhere. And I was scrambling to talk about it and show it, you know, because it had happened, so I might as well take advantage of it and exploit the fact that it happened and show it to all the viewers. Alright, so films about motorcycles. Like I said, I have a bunch, and I was just looking at the pile of films I pulled. I had like 26 films to choose from, and we don't have all night, so we're not going to watch all of those. I'd probably fall asleep halfway through. And I noticed like one of the films on my like go-to list was not on there, so I had to run to the archive in the back and find it. If there was a way for me to do that while you could watch, I would do it, but there's too many cables, which is why that screen went blue temporarily, because I accidentally knocked something. So, and then in watching the film, I just remembered there's one film I'm trying to find. I just have to see how I have it listed in the database. There's a scene in it, and it's just glorious. So, I feel like it's made for police officers. So it's kind of what Chips would have watched in training. Alright, sync up. Alright, so this teletiny, what it does is it doesn't actually use sprockets to move the film through, so it uses tension, so you have to kind of nudge it. This is one of my favorite educational film companies, Centron, and this is... I have the notes. Motorcycle safety and courtesy in traffic. So, here we go.
One of the joys of motorcycle riding is the open road. One of the realities is the shared road. Furthermore, it must be shared with drivers who have more protective shielding and to drive multi-wheeled vehicles that are larger, heavier, and more easily visible. The motorcycle, the machine itself, is neither safe nor dangerous. But what the rider does with it can make it more one or the other. Almost anybody can learn to operate the machine. A poor rider can travel along a straight, smooth, deserted road almost as well as a skilled operator. Beyond these ideal and rare circumstances, the comparison ends. Anybody can be a reckless and unsafe operator for as long as he or she survives.
At first, while we're operating out in the field and operating our motorcycle slowly, we want to use only the rear brake, which operates by this pedal, which is operated with the right foot. Later, after we gain a little more speed, we'll operate our front brake, and it is operated by the hand up here on the handlebar. We first operate the foot brake and follow very quickly with the hand brake.
To be a safe motorcyclist requires not only more intelligence and more intelligent courtesy, but also more genuine riding skill. Skill begins with knowing the machine. The beginner should seek the help of his vehicle dealer or of a qualified instructor in learning the controls of a particular model. With the machine on its stanchion, he can learn how to start it and the use of the choke. He must also learn to coordinate the clutch lever and the gear shift. Become accustomed to the use of the foot lever for the rear wheel brake and the hand lever for the front wheel brake. The next step is practice. Practice until every move can be made instantly, accurately, and almost automatically. On the practice field, the cyclist may have time to think about how to drop back into lower gear or how to apply the brakes. But later, in traffic, there may be no time at all. Initial training should be in an open area and at slow speed. Not only is slow speed safer, but it helps instill confidence in keeping the feet up and maintaining posture. A typical practice area, such as this high school facility, gives students a chance to practice and demonstrate their developing skills. Control of the power cycle, speed, leaning into turns, maintaining course and maneuverability, and the ability to maintain a straight line while braking, and to stop at a given point. At all stop signs, the motorcyclist should come to a complete stop in the foot-down position. Some states require a demonstration of such abilities, as well as a knowledge of traffic regulations before issuing an operator's license. All hand signals are made with the left arm.
Hand and arm signal.
The three signals are slowing down or stopping, left turn, right turn. If the state requires use of turn signals, these must be installed and used. Along with the basic skills, the new rider should be acquiring the defensive attitude. The defensive attitude is the habit of expecting the unexpected or anticipating problems before they arise. It begins with the wearing of protective gear and clothing. These include a high-impact helmet, cushioned inside for comfort and protection. While riding, it is always worn with the chin strap fastened. Next, goggles or face shield of shatterproof material. Regular corrective glasses or sunglasses do not offer adequate protection. Wind whipping around them can cause blinding tears. In a face-down spill, the shields offer fullest protection. Clothing includes long-sleeve jackets to protect the arms, gloves for the hands, long trousers and boots to protect legs and ankles. Riding without face and eye protection would be like driving a car without that windshield in front. Fine, until another vehicle kicks up dirt or a stone. And suddenly we know another reason why that windshield and that face shield are there. Let the shield take the strike, not the face or those irreplaceable eyes. Machines designed for the road are not intended for the rougher climbs and maneuvers for which the knobby, tired, off-trail machines are built. But the road rider should become familiar with the handling of his machine on various surfaces, such as sand, gravel, and dirt. By the time the cyclist progresses to in-traffic riding, the combination of skill and defensive attitude should be ingrained in him by practice. He will take the best position in the traffic lane, generally toward the left, in the line followed by the left wheels of automobiles. The center is avoided because it's likely to contain slick spots left by the oil that drips from cars. The extreme right is generally too close to parked cars. Furthermore, some thoughtless motorist may be tempted to try to squeeze by. This is a trap to be avoided. The defensive cyclist should always leave himself a way out. The defensive rider always lets the motorist know he is there. He would be wise to think of himself as partially invisible. To many motorists, he is. To illustrate, a truck driver approaches an intersection. He's accustomed to looking for large vehicles, but as he stops, notice a corner post is enough to block a motorcycle completely from view. The driver doesn't see him and pulls out into a collision course with the cyclist. There are also blind spots behind a car. Before attempting to pass, the defensive cyclist will make sure he is seen in the motorist's rearview mirror, or he may be surprised by a sudden left turn. Among car drivers and motorcyclists alike are a careless few who are a danger to themselves and to others. Among cyclists, they are the ones who use their machines to vent their aggression in traffic. Those who are so hungry for attention, they make every ride an ego trip. And those who lack the common sense to recognize hazards until it is too late. Nothing does more harm to the image of motorcyclists than the ear-blasting noise of the show-off. To cut off or bypass the muffler of a modern machine does not improve its performance. It only violates the law and makes enemies. Leave the muffler intact for the sake of both courtesy and the sport of motorcycling. The better rider is distinguished by courtesy. It is always the self-confident person who is considerate of others. The rider who knows he is skilled confines his demonstrations to appropriate places. In traffic, he applies those skills to the cause of safety. The defensive rider always signals his moves well in advance. To this extent, he controls the actions of the vehicles behind him. To make sure they were watching, he checks in his mirror before making his move. While waiting to make a left turn, a slight turning of the front wheel gives a further signal of intent. Close following is always dangerous. Not only is stopping time decreased, but truck tires may throw back stones and other materials. Also, vision is limited, and the cyclist may not be able to see dips or chuck holes in the road ahead. Usually, the legal following distance in traffic is at least 1 car length for each 10 miles per hour of speed. We say at least because even this common rule of thumb is not foolproof. It assumes that in the process of stopping, the vehicle ahead will also move further forward. If it had stopped instantly, as in a collision, the spacing might not have sufficed. Some drivers have the notion that if you double the speed, you merely double the distance required for stopping. But this is not true. Actually, when the speed is doubled, the kinetic energy of the vehicle is multiplied 4 times. This means that if a machine going 10 miles per hour strikes a wall with an impact of, say, 1,000 foot-pounds, at 20 miles per hour, it will hit with an impact of 4,000 foot-pounds. Put another way, if at 10 miles an hour the operator has 1,000 foot-pounds of energy to bring to a halt, at double that speed, he will have 4,000 foot-pounds to halt. And it will require approximately 4 times the distance. In normal situations, by applying both back and front brakes gradually, the rider keeps straight-line control. Using an inclined plane for momentum, notice how the rolling front and rear wheels of this skate maintain their position. But lock the wheels so they slide, and momentum forces the skate along in any position. Locked wheels on a motorcycle can do the same thing. Hard braking and a sideways slide coming down this hill could be very unpleasant. The time to slow or gear down is before the cycle starts the descent. On a slippery street, even light braking will often cause a machine to slide. A sensible rider avoids the necessity of braking by going slow on wet pavement, and by watching ahead and slowing down before a slick spot is reached. If a bump, chuck hole, or other road fault is unavoidable, it should be met head-on with a firm grip on the handlebars. Slippery tracks can be treacherous and should be intersected as near perpendicular as possible, crossing with the flat of the tire. The knowledgeable rider will always slow down before taking a curve, to be in the curve at proper speed. The reason a rider leans in the direction he is turning is to offset the centrifugal effect. This is the action that pushes a rotating body toward the outside of a circle. Notice that at slow speed, the object remains within the marked circle. But when speed is increased, the object is pushed outside the boundary. By the same principle, a rider taking a curve at safe speed remains on his side of the yellow line. Taking the curve too fast, centrifugal force carries him over the line and into the lane of oncoming traffic. We have seen that a locked wheel will slide in any direction. On a curve, the machine tends to continue in a straight line in this direction. If brakes are applied and traction lost here, the machine will slide into the oncoming lane. The rule is, slow down early. Do not brake on the curve. The rules for a motorcycle in passing are the same as for automobiles. The operator signals his intent, pulls completely into the passing lane, and make sure he has enough lead before pulling back in. The defensive rider regards every intersection as a potential danger area. He always assumes the drivers around him will be careless, and he must be on the alert. A turn signal may mean an approaching car will turn, or it may mean the signal was left on carelessly. He waits to know for sure. He still keeps the controls under hand and foot ready for instant action, in case someone does the unexpected. Good defensive riders travel within a protective safety barrier made up of their own awareness and alertness to what is going on around them. The cyclist looks for traffic signals several cars ahead. A ball rolling into the street is enough to warn him to slow down, so nothing surprises him. He avoids riding close to a line of parked cars. Too many possibilities for trouble. Traveling in pairs, experienced riders are cautious about riding side by side in this manner. What is wrong with it? A car swerving into their lane may force the inside rider to the outside, and there is nowhere for the inside rider to turn. Defensive riders always leave themselves a way out. In pairs, they travel in this manner, each in control of his own space. When riding double, the passenger needs the same protective clothing as the operator. The passenger is advised to keep a firm hold on the handles or buddy strap, although a firm hold on the operator also has its pleasant aspects. Passengers should be advised to keep both feet on the pegs at all times and to lean only in the same direction as the operator. A parked motorcycle is entitled to a whole parking space. But why not make it apparent? Many motorists have had the experience of turning into a seemingly vacant space to discover it is not vacant, hopefully in time to stop. When correctly parked, the motorcycle can readily be seen. Maintenance, always important, is doubly so for night riding. The common sense rider is on the lookout for worn tires, frayed cables, or brakes that need adjusting. He keeps his engine properly tuned and makes regular inspections of his electrical system, including front and rear lights. As a rule of thumb, the high beam of the headlight should drop about 2 inches in 25 feet. If too high or low, it will not light the road surface properly. The watchwords for night riding are see and be seen. Light-colored clothing, especially helmet and jacket, make the rider more visible. Clothing and helmets are available with highly reflective materials built in. Reflective tape is another added touch of visibility. It should always be on the helmet and may be added to the backs of the jacket and machine. Experienced riders often apply reflective tape to the backs of their gloves, a help in making arm signals more visible to following vehicles. The skillful night rider always rides within the limits of visibility. That means at a reduced speed that enables him to stop within the distance illuminated by his light beam. Because if the light suddenly catches something, that's all the distance he has. The cyclist who follows a car or truck too closely may disappear from the view of a motorist behind him. To this driver, the lights blend and all appear to belong to one larger vehicle, so he provides no margin for the safety of the unseen motorcyclist. Special care must be taken in coming out of a driveway or side street. The cyclist can never assume that he has been seen. The cyclist must know the road surface ahead of him. And glare, like any momentary blindness, is a special hazard. If there are smudges or cracks in goggles or face shield, oncoming lights play havoc with vision. Glasses and face shields need to be kept clear and clean. The cyclist should avoid direct eye contact with the bright lights. Slow down and look toward the right side of the road until the glaring light is passed. Compressed in this space of time, there seems a great deal to remember, but most of it is common sense. In essence, safe motorcycling boils down to those three essentials: skill, defensive attitude, and courtesy. In brief, learn to handle the controls easily and quickly. Maintain a surrounding circle of safety by always expecting the unexpected. Anticipate what is ahead and adjust speed accordingly. Motorcycling is for pleasure. Practicing safety and courtesy makes it more pleasant for everybody.
So many steps just to move some film around. Holy cow. So, here's topics for discussion after viewing the film, as according to the leader's guide. Number one, cycle lane position. One cycle versus two cycle. Measures, one cycle dash two cycle. Measures that should be taken by the cyclist to be seen. Protective wearing apparel. Helmets and eye protection. Legislation. What the automobile operator can do to help. What the cyclist can do to help. Cycle equipment, off-road type, on-road type. Courtesies. Dangers to cycles, and this is a subgroup. Manhole covers, metal bridge floors, railroad crossings, chuck holes, rocks, gravel, oil drippings on pavement, paint stripes, wet leaves, inclement weather, snow, ice, fog, etc. Number 10, final, cycle passenger. The purpose of this film, the film is designed to aid in the coexistence of four-wheeled and two-wheeled vehicles. The cyclist, as well as the automobile operator, will see some of the do's and don'ts involved in the operation of a two-wheeled vehicle. The beginning cyclist can learn some of the proper techniques for operating his machine. The automobile operator can appreciate some of the hazardous conditions within which the cyclist must operate. He will also see some of the problems that are the same as those that confront automobile drivers, while others are unique to motorcycles because of the differences in vehicular structures. It is hoped that all viewers of this film will be made aware of the fact that there are smaller vehicles operating on our roads and vehicles which constitute a potential danger. Wow, that's timed perfectly. Wow. Anyhow, so that was motorcycle safety and courtesy in traffic. That's okay. It's alright. Alright, what's next? This is the film that I went looking for. Not so easy. Motorcycle safety. It's another safety film. But this kind of involves... Uh-oh, that doesn't work well. Why did that take so long to get that off there? No, it's fine. Okay, so this involves something I enjoy, which is celebrities. There's celebrity hosts in this, and I always have this theory with celebrity hosts that they are hosts of an educational film either because they're just starting out and they're, you know, on their way up, or they're on their way down and, you know, they're trying to get a paycheck, or it is a court-appointed thing I don't have anything that tells me that is the case for the two celebrities that are in this film, but I would just like to believe that it is. Not So Easy. Who do you think's in this film, if you had to guess? Not So Easy motorcycle film. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to see. You're going to find out for yourself. 1 second. So, Not So Easy. Two celebrities in this film. And also, there's an amazing scene at the end that I was just mentioning earlier that is so good. I'm excited to show this to you. So, enjoy.
Remember me? I was in a film called Easy Rider. Well, I'm here to say it's not so easy. I'm Peter Fonda. I've ridden bike for quite a few miles. Quite some time, too. It's a great way to get around. It's a good sport if you know what you're doing. If you don't know, it can be a quick ride to the hospital or even the graveyard, which are two good reasons why you should watch and listen to what this film has to say. Here's another friend of mine, Rider Evel Knievel.
If I look like I'm rigging up for a trip into outer space, you're right. I don't swing a leg over a bike for a trip to the neighborhood drugstore unless I've got on leathers, boots, and gloves. They've saved a lot of hide, especially in accidents like mine. And goggles and a face shield are a must. They may save you from being blinded if you're riding a motorcycle behind an automobile. And a helmet? Nobody should ever ride a motorcycle without a helmet. I never do. 3 out of 4 fatalities on a motorcycle have resulted from head injuries. If the rider had been wearing a helmet, he may be alive today. Another thing that's important, don't get on a strange bike without checking the brake, the gas, and especially your rear view mirror.
You have to get the feel of a new bike, too, before you hit the road. Get familiar with the controls. For example, on some models, the foot brake is located on the right, and on others, the left. Balance varies from model to model, too. And these are things you ought to have a feeling for before you tangle with traffic. If you're an experienced rider, that should make sense. If you're a beginner, don't do any of these things, not on your own. You should be learning to ride under the supervision of a pro. Training is available through schools, police departments, and motorcycle dealers. By the way, 3 out of 5 bike accidents happen to beginners during their first 6 weeks of riding.
Boy, this is slick.
But hey, in case you're thinking that Knievel and I are a couple of nervous old ladies, let's not forget the kind of thing that Knievel has done. isn't as hairy as this, but it still takes a lot of rider to handle a freeway. You've got a lot going for you on a bike if you really use it. If a car cuts you off, your braking and downshift will stop you much more quickly than a car. Same goes for superior acceleration and maneuverability on a bike that can get you out of bad spots fast. Take a good look. Your controls are positioned for almost instant response if your hands and feet are where they belong. Brakes, clutch, downshift, maneuverability. Acceleration. And for visibility, there's nothing like it. 360 degrees of unobstructed vision if you keep your eyes open and know when and where to look. If the trouble isn't with the rider, there's still the threat of the car driver. For some reason, most car drivers just don't seem to see bikes. So you've got to think of them as asleep, blind, or drunk. The records show that 9 out of 10 bike accidents at intersections are chalked against cars turning in front of or into cycles. And in most cases, the driver will honestly claim that he didn't see the motorcycle. There is some help in making yourself as visible as you can with what you're wearing, like a white helmet. Also, if you keep a safe distance behind the car you're following and ride over in the left side of the lane, you give yourself an edge. Even when that asleep, blind, or drunk driver tries to wipe you out, you've had time and space to anticipate trouble and to avoid it. But you still can't relax after you've passed the corner. Hard statistics show that mid-block bike accidents split just about evenly with intersections. Give parked cars a wide berth. An opening door can really cream you. And never forget that bit about the sleeping, blind, or drunk driver. And it's a good idea to have your headlight on at all times, day as well as night, whether or not it's required by local laws. On a 3-lane highway, it's good practice to ride the middle lane. That means if there's trouble ahead, you can choose between right and left lanes to duck into. And stick to the side of the lane you're riding to avoid oil slicks, which are usually concentrated in the center of the lane. One thing a bike doesn't have over a car is good traction in oil, snow, or gravel. The left side of the lane is usually better than the right, of course, because a car driver can see you in his rearview mirror, while the right side of a car is generally a blind spot. But even more important, in the right or left side of the lane, you can see ahead of the car in front of you. You should be able to see at least 3 cars ahead at all times. That really counts when traffic gets rough. And forget about slot riding, man. Even if you seem to have plenty of space, that hole in between cars can disappear a lot faster than you can get through it. But if all this has you wondering if maybe you ought to sell your bike, here's an interesting hunk of information. Motorcycle police of the Los Angeles Department ride by the book, or if they don't, they're just not on the motorcycle squad anymore. They follow the rules, and they've put together a safety record of less than 18 accidents per million miles ridden. That's compared with 27.9 accidents for every million miles driven by the department's fleet of patrol cars, which is almost 10 less accidents for bikes than cars for every million miles. Shows that motorcycles can be safe. So let's do a quick double take of how it can be that way with you. Here's a motorcycle safety test. Make sure you know the right answers before you get back on a bike. Question number 1. Protective clothing like boots, goggles, leathers, and helmet are strictly for beginners. An experienced rider does not need them. True or false? The answer is false. The more experienced a rider, the better he knows that he does not belong on a bike unless he is dressed to protect himself against that accident that can always happen. Question number 2. If you are a good rider, it is okay to hop aboard any bike and take off. True or false? The answer is false. It's important to check out a bike thoroughly. Brakes, gas, lights, handling, the works before you hit the road. Question number 3. 9 out of 10 bike accidents at intersections are caused by car drivers, not the motorcycle rider. True or false? True. Car drivers just don't seem to see bikes. You have to think of them as asleep, blind, or drunk. Question number 4. Chances of an accident in the middle of a block are less than at intersections. True or false? False. Middle block accidents are just about equal to intersection smash-ups, so don't relax between intersections. Question number 5. It is a good idea to ride the middle lane on a 3-lane highway. True or false? The answer is true. The middle lane gives you a chance to duck to either the right or the left when there's trouble up ahead. Question number 6. Whatever lane you are in, it is safest to ride right in the middle of it. True or false? The answer is false. The middle of the lane is where you will usually find the oil slick that can throw you. And besides, if you're directly in back of a car, you can't see far enough ahead to anticipate emergencies. Question number 7. It is safer to ride in the left side of your lane rather than the right. True or false? The answer is true. A car driver can see you in his rearview mirror. His right side is usually a blind spot. Question number 8. Riding into the slot between cars is dangerous. True or false? The answer is true. You can bet on it. That slot can disappear awfully fast, and you'd better not be in it when it happens. Question number 9. The odds are against you on a motorcycle no matter how safely you handle it. True or false? The answer is false. Police statistics show that alert, experienced riders observing all the safety rules can reduce motorcycle accidents below the normal car accident rate. Question number 10. Your headlight should only be turned on at night or on a dark day. True or false? The answer is false. Your headlight will help a lot in catching the attention of car drivers. Question number 11. Your helmet serves only one purpose, to protect you from head injury. True or false? False. If your helmet is white or light colored, it also protects you by making you more visible to a car driver. Question number 12. A car is safer than a motorcycle in every way. True or false? The answer is false. On a bike, you have greater visibility if you really bother to look, and faster stopping if you keep your hands and feet where they ought to be. Quicker acceleration, too, when you need it to pull you out of trouble. But on the other hand, it's a lot easier to flip a bike than a car, and you're not surrounded by protective steel as you are in an automobile, so that if an accident happens, you're a lot more likely to get hurt. That's why you've got to be a lot better rider than a driver. Alert every split second for fast reaction to any possible threat. Okay, that's about it. Have a good trip. But don't ride too easy.
Let's give it up for the LAPD drill team. Man, they were truly awesome. I really, I was spacing on what film it was. I was like, God, there's this awesome kind of, people noted it on the comments, but Busby Berkeley-esque scene with the drill team and their motorcycles, and it's just great. And what's at some point my brain will combine. I have two other films that have the same type of scene, and I would love to kind of somehow overlay them using some sort of computer magic to the other scenes are, one is Royal Canadian Mounted Police on horses, and the other are people in wheelchairs just doing this, the same type of kind of pinwheel, beautiful stuff. So yes, Peter Fonda and Evel Knievel. I have no evidence that this is the case, but I would like to think that at least one of them was doing this film because they were ordered by the court of law because of some sort of infraction involving probably some sort of substance, alcohol, drugs, and motorcycle. And they're like, well, you need to educate the public, and do a public service announcement. So, again, nothing that tells me that for sure, but it just has that feeling. And of course, Evel Knievel was my childhood hero. I had a little Evel Knievel doll, as I'm sure many of you did. But I didn't think he was evil enough, so I actually had an El Marco pen. This is before Sharpies. It was a permanent marker, El Marco, and I did his hair black so that he was more evil. He didn't seem evil enough. Evil spelled E-V-I-L. And I had the Snake River Canyon rocket cycle, and that thing did not work. Worth a damn. It did not work. It was like spin, zzz, and then you release it and it's like zzz. and he just kind of falls over. It was very lame. All right, this next film is The Facts of Life, not the TV show. I don't think. I haven't seen this film. So a lot of times you get films from a library, and they inspect the film, and then they put a little piece of tape across it, or a sticker that says electronically inspected, and then you know that this has been inspected and has not been viewed since that time. So this is, you know, popping open a film that has not been viewed in however many years, since the 70s or 80s maybe. Sometimes there's actually something written on the can that tells me when it was actually last cleaned. Let me see, where is it? Sometimes the back. This one has a teacher's guide too. Awesome. All right. Sometimes you get a cleaning record. Someone in the film librarian would clean it, inspect it, and then mark it off. So as I said, this is the film is called The Facts of Life, and this is The Facts of Life only if you drive a moped. So this is Facts of Life, moped safety. I noticed on the I mentioned on the comments that the next screening we're doing is on April 22nd, Sunday, and I am looking for theme suggestions. So write in the comments what you would like to see. If you've already written 4 or 5 suggestions, like some of you have done, you don't need to give me any more suggestions. They are all good, but yeah, let's hear from some other folks about general themes, not specific films, general themes. And not drugs, please, because drugs it's too easy. Unless you want me to show, I'll just show you all the boring drug films I have. All right, so this is Moped Safety, Facts of Life.
No, Shirley.
Why not? What are you afraid of?
Well, it's just that you're inexperienced.
That's why I want to learn. I'll be careful.
I know.
Don't you trust me?
Sure, it's not that.
Then what is it?
Well, look at all this traffic. Somebody might...
What traffic? That's why we came here, remember? It's perfect. Look, you told me yourself it's almost as easy as riding a bicycle. Come on, please.
Well, it means that much to you, okay. Girls, all alike. Just remember, I worked hard to pay for this thing. And if you wreck it, you're in big trouble, lady.
Relax, I can do it. Just give me the facts.
This is the rear brake right here. Just that. That?
Here you go.
Like Shirley, a lot of people these days are eager to experience the joy of mopedling. That's a fact of life. The number of mopeds on the nation's streets is increasing rapidly as people of all ages fall in love with this unique form of transportation. The reasons for the public's growing romance with the moped are fairly obvious. Compared to the automobile, a moped is inexpensive to purchase and maintain. A moped has an automatic transmission, which makes the vehicle easy to operate in traffic. And perhaps most important, the typical moped averages about 135 miles per gallon of precious fuel.
You know, I think she's got the right idea.
And finally, riding a moped is just plain fun. Although a moped is an enjoyable and inexpensive form of transportation, the new rider must realize that it's not a toy. It's a motor vehicle, and as such must be used responsibly. The moped is subject to the same traffic laws as the other vehicles with which it shares the road. And because the moped is smaller and slower than those other vehicles, it's vital that the mopedalist acquires the knowledge, skills, and good judgment needed to ride safely in traffic. So let's take a look at the facts of life that can help make any moped-rider relationship a happy and safe one.
When you start out the engine and it's cold, don't forget to use the choke so it'll set
The
off
most
the air.
obvious fact is that the novice must become thoroughly familiar with the machine before riding in traffic. First, some general information. As the word moped suggests, the vehicle employs two power sources, a motor and pedals. While there are many models on the market, all mopeds are equipped with single-cylinder engines rated at between 1 and 2 horsepower and capable of producing speeds of between 20 and 30 miles an hour. Horsepower and maximum speeds allowable are determined by state laws. The pedals are used to start the machine and to allow human power to assist the engine on takeoffs and on hills. At other times, they serve as footrests. The prospective buyer should be aware that most states require the vehicle to have operable pedals and an automatic transmission to merit the benefits of special moped laws. The buyer should also be sure the moped meets federal safety standards. Required safety equipment includes headlight, tail and stop lights, reflectors, rear view mirror, and an extra switch to stop the engine. Before taking that first ride, the beginner must become completely familiar with the moped's controls and starting procedure. Basic controls include the fuel valve, which starts and stops the flow of fuel to the carburetor, an ignition switch, a choke, which aids in starting a cold engine, the throttle, controlled by the right hand grip, and the front and rear brake levers. These are mounted on the handlebars. The moped should always be started outdoors because, like a car, it produces exhaust, which contains poisonous carbon monoxide. The dealer can demonstrate the correct way to start a particular model. A moped is usually started on its stand, but many people started by pedaling on the road. The next step for the beginner is to get acquainted with the machine in operation. A quiet parking lot or side street is a good place to learn basic riding skills. At first, the new rider should concentrate on maintaining proper balance and riding position, body erect, arms bent slightly, and feet firmly on the pedals. The novice must learn to maintain course and maneuverability at different speeds, and develop the reflexes needed to use the throttle and brakes instinctively. Control of the machine must become automatic. The beginner should practice stopping and starting frequently to get the feel of the machine's capabilities. When braking, The rider must learn to maintain a straight line and to stop at a given point. Normally, the rider should apply both the front and rear brakes in stopping. The front wheel brake supplies most of the moped's braking power, and the rider must be able to use it properly. The novice should also acquire the habit of pedaling briefly from a stop to build up speed faster. Practice leaning into turns. And learn to keep the pedals horizontal when cornering so they won't hit the ground. All these skills must be mastered before the rider takes to the streets.
You gotta talk your parents into buying one of these.
I've been working on it, but can you picture my dad riding one of these?
Why not? My grandparents do.
Riders who know the facts of life about moped safety see the wisdom in wearing a helmet, even though it's not mandatory in most states. Appropriate clothing includes a long-sleeved shirt or jacket to protect the arms, long trousers, and of course shoes or boots to protect the feet. Bicycle clips or rubber bands should be used to keep flared cuffs from becoming entangled in the moped's moving parts. Because the moped is small and has a narrow profile, the rider should do everything possible to be visible in traffic. Bright clothing and riding with the headlight on help make the rider more readily visible to motorists. The horn can help too, and the rider should not hesitate to use it. Despite these precautions, riders should always assume they are invisible to motorists. They often are. For example, here the mopedalist is hidden behind the driver's windshield post. The rider must be prepared to yield the right-of-way in this situation. The mopedalist should also be aware of blind spots behind cars. Because mopeds generally travel on the right side of the lane, they often are invisible to motorists making sudden right turns. The cautious rider avoids this problem by slowing down and putting more space between the vehicles. This makes the mopedalist visible in the driver's rearview mirror and gives the rider more time to react to a sudden turn. Since the mopedalist is even less visible in the dark, night riding should be kept to a minimum. However, when a night ride is unavoidable, the sensible rider always wears light-colored clothing, uses reflective tape on his or her jacket and helmet, and stays on well-lit streets as much as possible. Day or night, the mopedalist should use common sense in deciding where to ride. The moped was not designed for off-road use, and any attempt to take it over dirt trails could be damaging to machine and rider alike. Thoughtful riders respect the moped's docile nature and therefore limit the machine to smooth, well-paved roads and streets. Since the moped is tame and docile, even at top speed, wise riders try to avoid competing with fast-moving traffic. Whenever possible, they choose less traveled streets over busy thoroughfares. On any street, the mopedalist must be prepared to cope with certain inevitable hazards, such as chuck holes, sewer drains, trash, and assorted automobile droppings. The alert mopedalist will reduce speed to a crawl and steer around such hazards whenever possible. Railroad tracks are another common obstacle. The rider should cross them at an angle as close to 90 degrees as possible, keeping a firm grip on the handlebars. Wet, slippery streets pose a special hazard to the mopedalist. To prevent skids, the rider should reduce speed, avoid sudden changes in direction, and allow extra braking distance. The rider should always avoid braking while in a curve, even on dry pavement. No matter how good the road, careful mopedalists always use common sense when carrying passengers and other loads. Many mopeds are strictly one-person vehicles, so riders should carry passengers only if the machine is clearly equipped for such travel and state law allows it. A passenger should hold on to the rider's waist keep feet on the foot pegs at all times, and lean with the rider in turns. Above all, riders carrying passengers must remember to compensate for the additional weight by allowing extra stopping distance.
Was that who I thought it was?
No, it couldn't be.
Let's find out.
Transporting less lively cargo requires care, too. Riders should always distribute the weight evenly between baskets to maintain good balance. Sensible riders never hand carry anything because both hands must be on the handlebars at all times. Baggage must be tied securely to the moped using elastic fasteners or tie-downs if necessary. The rider should also make sure no loose ends are hanging and that the load doesn't hide the vehicle's lights. In mopedaling, common sense and courtesy go hand in hand. Thoughtful riders signal all turns and lane changes well in advance to give motorists time to react. Being courteous helps ensure their own safety. At intersections, courteous riders are always willing to yield the right-of-way to larger, more powerful vehicles. It's just common sense to do so. Traveling in pairs, thoughtful riders never impede speedier traffic by riding side by side. If a frustrated motorist tries to squeeze by, the car may force the riders together in a most unromantic way. Experienced mopedalists avoid such entanglements by riding single file, keeping an adequate space cushion between themselves and other vehicles. A moped's speed is reduced considerably when climbing steep hills. So if traffic starts to back up, the courteous rider will pull off the road and let motorists pass unhindered. Of course, there are always a few thoughtless riders who seem bent on endangering both themselves and others. They're the ones who weave in and out of traffic, ride illegally on sidewalks, and take occasional shortcuts through the corner gas station.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
If such foolish riders survive to a ripe old age, it won't be because they haven't made enemies. Courteous mopedalists, on the other hand, always ride within the bounds of law and reason. They share the road willingly, showing respect for the rights of other motorists and pedestrians. Among the facts of life dealing with moped safety, none is more important than the maxim that says, always expect the unexpected. Riders who live by this rule try to anticipate safety problems before they occur. It begins with a pre-ride inspection to make sure the moped is in safe working order. Are the brake levers operating smoothly? Are all the cables connected? Are tires properly inflated and free of cuts or other damage? Chain tight enough? Is the throttle working smoothly? Are lights, switches, and horn all working? A pre-ride inspection may take a little time, but if it prevents an accident, it's time well spent. In traffic, riders who expect the unexpected practice a defensive attitude. They keep their eyes moving, scanning the road for potential hazards. They use the rear-view mirror and frequent head checks to stay aware of traffic behind them. Defensive riders always assume a car door will open at the most inopportune time, so they're seldom surprised. And because a ball rolling into the street is often followed by an impetuous child, defensive riders will always be ready for a sudden stop. Even at a green light, defensive riders slow down and check traffic before proceeding. It should be obvious by now that learning to ride a moped safely is not really difficult. The beginner should keep these 3 basic facts of life in mind. First, Become thoroughly familiar with the machine and its operation before riding in traffic. Second, use common sense and courtesy when riding. Make yourself visible, ride on less traveled streets as much as possible, and yield the right-of-way to larger vehicles. And third, always expect the unexpected. Be a defensive rider.
Oh my gosh! When did you get this?
Just now.
I can't believe he actually bought one.
Yep, from now on, this is the way I get to work.
Can I try it out?
Well, you've got to know what you're doing.
It's all right. I taught her the facts of life. About moped safety, I mean.
It's all right. I taught her the facts of life about moped safety, I mean. Oh my gosh, that was what a glorious setup that was for that whole time. Man. So this was pretty much like the motorcycle film that we saw about courtesy. The other ones that we saw. But, man, some great mopeding in there, nonetheless. So, let's see. I got one more film coming up. I really wanted to show Mouse and the Motorcycle, but it is very long, and I am very tired. Daylight savings time, man. What a pain in the butt. So anyways, there were some compelling requests for the next screening, which will be April 22nd. And so I did some research, and I kind of weighed some things like dating films. I actually just did a dating film show, so for Valentine's Day. So I'm gonna shelve that temporarily and revisit it at some point at a later time. All the suggestions I'll probably revisit at some point, but one I have not ever done, and there was some consensus about this, is films about railroads and trains. I've got some awesome films about railroads and trains that I just looked up and I was like, oh man, always wanted to show this film. So it's a very open topic, so there will be a variety of different things that kind of show up, and God, I have like 75 films to choose from about trains and locomotives and railroads, and so there's a lot of really great stuff there. So thank you for the suggestion. I think it was Douglas, somebody on YouTube. So that will be April 22nd. If you happen to be in the Raleigh area, I've got a screening at King's on Tuesday night, and it's called It's About Time, and it's films about time in honor of Daylight Savings Time, which is kicking my butt. And so it's, again, very loosey-goosey theme about time and clocks and a variety of different things related to that. So, again, this is kind of a new theme idea. Then at the Hunt Library, which is NC State Centennial Campus, on Friday at 6 o'clock, I'll be showing films about school spirit. Because in North Carolina, it is March Madness, and there's a lot of hoopla for various teams, although NC State did not do very well. And I don't think they're even going to be in the NCAA. But anyways, there's a lot of talk about school spirit, both positive and negative. And so I'm showing some films from the 50s about that subject. It should be fun. We have an expert from NC State, one of the professors, is going to talk about the films. It's always interesting to get them to watch them because oftentimes they're younger than me and they have no idea, like, what is this? Or I remember seeing these. Also, I should say that there's a place to donate via Patreon. www.patreon.com/avgeeks. Patreon's kind of like a tip jar subscription where you can tip just a little bit of money to say thank you for what you do, and that money goes to help pay. There's some streaming bills that I pay, internet films. I'm buying films and equipment. and slowly trying to improve the level of stuff so that we have a positive experience when we stream. I should also say that very soon, I hope to be doing this at another location. I might be doing it here as well, but I might actually try to do this at the Alamo Draft House, which is opening in Raleigh, North Carolina, some point in April. I don't know when, but there's a lot of things that kind of determine that, but this is kind of my baby theater. I helped get it here, and I've been very excited about it. The new announcement, of course, is that there's going to be a video store there called Video Vortex, and there's going to be 75,000 titles on DVD, Blu-ray, and VHS. And we're right now going through a massive VHS collection here, stuff that doesn't exist on DVD or Blu-ray or streaming, for that matter. It's some amazing stuff. A lot of animation, a lot of foreign cinema. I think we counted 15 different Emmanuel films just on VHS alone. I'm not going to explain what that is, but those of you who know what that is will rejoice. All right, so one last film, and then I'm going to call it. If you like what you saw, like I said, you can donate on Patreon. But you know what else you can do is you can share this on YouTube. You can share this. It's going to be saved, unless for some reason there's a copyright complaint, which happened at one point for the toys thing I did where I showed some Disney film. But yeah, you can watch this and share it with people, and that's what I want. Share it. Or you can go to avgeeks.com and buy some DVDs, support the scene, or come to one of the shows, or just spread the word. I mean, the whole idea is I do this because I have all these films, and they're just sitting there, and I gotta share them. I gotta show them to folks, and this is one way to do it very efficiently, where I don't have to wear pants if I don't want to, although I am wearing pants. And, I get to reach all these people out in the world via the internet. So, I collect these films because I want to show them, and this is a way to do it. And I enjoy your comments, I enjoy your suggestions, and when you share with other people, I get very excited when I see somebody who I don't know, who I don't have any friends in common with on Facebook. It's like a new person. I've maybe won them over or completely alienated them by the film that I just showed. This next film hopefully will not be that case. This is a crowd pleaser. I mentioned I was doing a motorcycle screening and to a woman who has done some 60mm programming in the past, and she said, well, are you going to show Not So Easy? I was like, oh yeah. And she said, what about this next film, which I'm about to show you, called Vicious Cycles? It's real good. Thanks everybody for coming out. As I said, April 22nd is the next time we're doing this. And hopefully I will see you around. So enjoy. Thanks again, everybody, for watching tonight, and hopefully I will see you soon. Again, I'm Skip Elsheimer, AV Geeks. Thanks again, everybody, for commenting. Tonight was a really fun show to put together, and I'm very much looking forward, April 22nd, to show some films about trains. I've got some really good ones that at least involve some sort of locomotive or train car or whatever. There's not going to be a loosey-goosey with it, but it's going to be awesome. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. If you're in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, come to one of my shows. One next Tuesday, or this upcoming Tuesday at King's, and then one at Hunt Library. And then I'm going to be doing something on the 23rd, I think, of March, showing Young Frankenstein at the Science Museum, because that's a very good science film. All right, everybody, take care. Love you. Bye.